What's good, everybody? Well, the last 6 months have been crazy. Since the last time we were out here and we did the Trailblazer rear door window switches, my life done got flipped, turned upside down. See, over the past 6 months, I've had to deal with death, and I've had to deal with life. And life and death kind of goes hand in hand to what we're doing today, which is jacking off this Trailblazer. Now, there's a couple reasons that we're doing this, but we'll get into that at the end of the video. Now, before we start checking brakes or doing brake work or doing anything that requires the wheels to be up off the ground, I'm going to show you guys how I jack off this truck and support it on jack stands. Now, I've looked around on YouTube at what some other guys have done, and some of that shit is so unsafe. I wouldn't crawl underneath one of those trucks for a three-way with Taylor Swift and Megan Fox, you know what I mean? So this is the factory jack that comes with the Trailblazer, and these are the tools. And to be honest, we're not going to use any of that shit. This is pretty much a paperweight. I wouldn't trust this more than I trust Obama. So yeah, I mean, this was designed to be for an emergency situation, and nothing that we're actually going to be doing out here is an emergency. So fuck this thing, please do not use it. I would not even use this to get the truck up high enough to put a jack stand under it. You guys can do what you want, but I won't be using it, and I can only hope that you guys don't use it either. You know what I'm saying? This is the jack that I bought for my personal use. You see a lot of people saying, oh, you need a 3-ton big floor jack. Well, I don't have a garage, and those things are too heavy for me to carry around. This thing has the detachable handle here. You know what I mean? It's pretty lightweight. I can maneuver it myself. And to be honest, I carry this with me in my truck whenever I'm taking trips or whatever, because, like I said, I'm not using that for anything. I've seen some arguments on the forums about this because it's rated at 2¼ ton. But if you come up here, in the specifications for the jack, it's rated at 4,500 pounds, and just jacking off one corner of the truck, you're not going to put a 4,500 pound load on it. Now, the jack stands that I use, they're also rated at 2¼ ton. And back in the specifications, the maximum load capacity of those are also 4,500 pounds. So this is the one I went with. It's worked good for me. Now, in some of my other videos, I've had to kind of lift up the truck a little bit just to crawl under there and fit the camera and myself under there. And usually you just see like a little piece of wood. The wood acts as a buffer in between the jack stand and the ground. These little corners of the stands will sink right into the dirt. So this is a buffer. And a lot of the other stuff you've probably seen, like little scrap pieces of wood I had laying around, 3/4 inch. It did good. Usually at the start of the season though, I re-up with some fresh wood. I kept the tag on this so you guys can see what this is. I just got it at Lowe's. This has been kind of treated with some crap, just in case there's like dew on the ground or something. It's not going to ruin this. Usually these will last a good whole year. Well, the part of the year I can work outside, you know, when the weather's kind of nice. So I've got two that are cut to size so that at least fit a jack stand on it. And then I have two that are cut so that it'll fit the jack itself on it. The reason I have two of these, you're going to see here in a minute, it just makes the flow of things a little bit better when you're trying to jack off both sides. You'll see what I'm getting at though. Now, my Trailblazer was supposed to come with two little L brackets made out of metal that were supposed to act as wheel chocks, but I don't have them anymore. And to be honest, I wouldn't even use them either. So here's some different things you can use for wheel chocks. I picked up these rubber guys. They work really well. Kind of got these little ridges in here. They butt up against the tires. You'll see how they're used here in a minute. These are cheap. I think I got them for 20 bucks for the pair. Another alternative, actually a more popular alternative, some 4x4 wood. Same deal, just got this at Lowe's. It's been treated so that it's kind of resistant to moisture. Obviously I probably wouldn't leave it out in the rain, but it usually lasts me a full season. Now, if you don't have those things available to you, well, be creative. Anything that's heavy and, you know, can stop the truck from rolling works perfectly. I know you guys on the internet, y'all love the Kicker Comp VR series. You can take this guy, and just wedge them underneath there. Anything that's going to prevent the truck from moving. Kicker power. Now, wheel chocks are really important because if you've seen what actually holds your truck in while it's in park, you'll realize that you're just trusting a little piece of metal, you know, and I wouldn't trust the parking brake to hold it. Even the combination of the parking brake, the parking pawl, No, don't trust it. Get something to block these wheels off. So we're going to do 4 different examples now. And these are the most common things you're going to see in some upcoming videos. So first we're going to just remove one wheel and we're going to put it back on. Then we're going to jack off one side of the truck. Then we're going to jack off the front end and then the rear end. Let's jack this puppy off. First, we're going to chock the rear wheels. You know, this is just my preference. I'm going to jack off this right front wheel right here. So I'm going to chock off both rear wheels. Using the chocks. Boom. Boom. Now I don't have the jack or anything underneath this right now. And all I'm going to do is just loosen up the lug nuts a bit. So we're going to pop the center cap off. Ooh. Again, we're just going a little bit, just to loosen them a little bit. Don't take them all off. So chances are is once we jack off this truck and it's up in the air, as soon as you push down on one of the lug nuts, the whole wheel is going to turn. So we're just going to crack them loose while it's on the ground. Then when we lift the truck up, we'll just be able to back them all off. Now, this isn't like some piece of shit little Kia Sorento. You know what I'm saying? This is a real truck right here, body on frame. And what I want to do is jack it off here at the frame. The jack's going to go on the piece of wood, and the little saddle's going to get, you know, right underneath the frame. My other little piece of wood for the jack stand is going to go in front of that because I want the load of the truck to be farther forward than backward. It's just my personal preference. If you guys do it another way, that's cool. As long as you're using a jack stand, we got no beef. So she's up pretty high. Now I can come in here with my jack stand and in the front on the Trailblazers at least, they kind of like have this notch, and that notch almost fits perfectly in the little groove in the stand itself. So I don't know if you can see that hole, the little notch right there, but I just found that works great for these trucks. So all I'm going to do is relieve the tension a little bit so that the jack stand, you know, absorbs the load. But I'm going to keep my jack up like this. Now obviously that's not going to really work when we're having more than one wheel off the ground, but for one wheel setups, this is pretty much super safe. So then I'll just kind of like push down the top of the wheel. That kind of gives me a little bit more confidence that nothing's going to happen. So now I can just take my ratchet and just rip off these lug nuts. See that wheel just turns. So if we were trying to loosen up the lug nuts with it up in the air, we wouldn't be getting anywhere. So now we've got the wheel off and everything looks kind of cool. We look kind of safe. We got the jack stand supporting the load. But at no point is my hand going to go underneath that rotor at all. Worst case scenario here, something happens where the jack gives out, the jack stand topples over, and this truck comes down. The bottom of this rotor is going to sink into the dirt. That's why nothing on my body is going underneath this at all. I think when we're doing brake work, we'll probably touch into that a little bit because we'll start taking some fasteners off and maybe they're going to fall right there. But you're going to actually see me have a extendable magnet in my hand because you couldn't pay me to put my hand underneath that right now. In some of the other videos that we've done where we kind of like had the truck set up like this, but we had all the wheels on, you know, we weren't in any real danger because, you know, it's just going to go back to stock height, you know, on the ground. I might have got, you know, pinched a little bit, but, you know, this is a whole different story. Alright, so we're just going to bang this wheel back on now. So we'll just roll this puppy back. Even there, you noticed I didn't pick the tire up from underneath because, again, something happens. There goes my hand. Hey, Mr. Spider. I'm going to walk these lugs on finger tight. You always want to put these puppies on finger tight first, so you don't risk cross-threading them. If you don't have fingers of steel, you can just take the socket by itself. Just turn the socket just to walk them on. You gotta be crazy. Alright, so next, you just take your impact wrench and, man, there ain't nothing to do it yourself about using one of these. Get the fuck out of here. I'll just take our ratchet. And you're gonna notice at this step, I'm gonna do this in kind of a pattern here. And this is to kind of like ensure that the wheel gets tightened correctly to the hub. Otherwise you can actually risk warping the rotors. I've seen that before. Sometimes people will just go around and tighten these all in a circle as hard as they can get it. And for whatever reason, that can lead to warped rotors. So I've got all these pretty much just hand tightened with the ratchet here. So we're good there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back on the jack and get her up just enough I can reach under here. All I did was pull up on the release of my jack stand, slid her out. Now we can lower this guy. Now me personally, I like to use a torque wrench for the peace of mind that I know that I've tightened the wheel lugs up properly. And again, I'm also going to do it in a special pattern. These wheel nuts should then be 103 foot-pounds. And there we have it. So that was example one, and it's probably going to be the most thorough one. Up next, I'm just going to show you the placements that I'm using for jacking off the Trailblazer in some different ways. So in this scenario, what you're going to see is we're going to have one side of the Trailblazer with both wheels off the ground. We're not going to go and do the whole shebang with pulling the wheels off because I've showed you guys how to do that. The procedure for that would be the same. So this is what I was saying, why I have two of these pieces of wood. Because I can leave that right there, the big one over there, and I know right where it goes. And it just kind of helps speed things up a little bit. I mean, you got a couple options, but what's worked best for me is using this bracket right here. And again, it's just my own personal preference. And you can, if you look under the truck, you can probably see that I moved all my wheel chocks to the other side. The wheels on the other side are chocked front and back, and that really, you know, lessens the chance of something bad happening. So, you know, if for whatever reason I was going to rotate tires and waste my time, pull this puppy off, put him up there, put that puppy back here. And another thing about jacking off this rear end, there are other ways to do it. When we get into something like doing these rear axle bearings and seals, there's going to be another procedure, but that will be specific for that video. Again, this is just more for like general information kind of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and lower this puppy down in the back here. Now we'll do the front end. So here's the setup with the front end jacked off. As you can see, I can easily take off this tire and take off this tire. This thing ain't going anywhere. You'll probably notice that I moved the chocks again so that both rear wheels are chocked off front and rear. Again, this is to prohibit the vehicle from rolling in the event something goes drastically wrong. Well, this is where it gets dangerous. Once both these back wheels are up off the ground, the parking brake and having the vehicle in park doesn't really matter. That's why I've got both front wheels chocked off, both in front and behind the wheel. So, as you can see, set up like this, both rear wheels spin. So if I needed, for whatever reason, to take both rear wheels up at the same time, that's how I'd set it up. Now, coming up in the next couple months, we're going to be showing some other GM trucks and SUVs. And I'll show you right now, I use the same setup when lifting up the Silverado 1500s. You don't need a 3-ton massive NASCAR style jack. That's what other people on the internet might be trying to tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? When I use the same equipment, the same wood, jack, stands, chocks, everything, the whole nine. I will say this though, I do have bigger jack stands, and that's for this big 2500 pickup. And it's not really because of the weight rating, it's just because the frame is so high up off the ground to begin with that even double or triple stacking the wood just doesn't really get the jack stand up high enough. Pretty much everything we've shown today applies to a lot of the trucks you're going to see on this channel, you know what I mean? And I have some other things I want to talk about. If you've got the wheels off the truck and you're underneath the truck, have somebody there with you. Have someone there that can know how to use the jack just in case. Now, some people that I've talked to about this actually have suggested carrying your phone on you, you know, if you're out here alone doing something like that. That way if something happens and the truck falls on you, you can call somebody, whether it's 911 or your loved ones, and just tell them, hey, if you come home, I'm probably going to be dead underneath the truck, because that has happened before. And the biggest thing is, you know, if you're in doubt about whether it's stable or safe, you know, to work under or work on doing this kind of stuff, don't do it. I mean, you know, we're all in this together. We're all trying to save a couple bucks doing stuff ourselves, but dude, it's not worth dying over. You know, I thought about just jumping into brake tools and just showing you guys some of the stuff I use for doing the measurements or whatever. Because of recent events, man, I really wanted to show this. You see, I'll tell you guys a story. I'm gonna tell you what really inspired this video right here. You know, while I was laid up for a little while, you know what I'm saying? I read something that really hit close to home, and it was an experienced technician right around my age was doing something on a big GM truck slash SUV, and he was working on it. He had the wheels off. While he was working on the truck, something happened, and the truck fell on him. And you know, as you guys might have seen earlier, what I explained about how the rotor would touch the ground if the jack fell out, well, you can imagine what happened. He got squashed, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't die right away. He actually sat in ICU for a couple of days before he died. And I tell you what, man, that could be any one of us out here doing this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Now, I don't know the circumstances. I don't know if he was doing stuff safely. I don't know if it was just a natural accident or he just fucked up, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. I mean, I guess the biggest thing, you know what I mean, if whether you're a fan of the show and what I do out here, or you one of these bitch ass haters that hates what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying, make shill accounts, mouths off at me and all that shit, you know, at the end of the day, I want to see all you guys that watch my program come home, you know what I'm saying, because the reality is, some people don't. I don't even really want to talk about this either.
What's that?
Well, fuck it. I've been an experienced technician. I've been doing this forever. A couple years ago, I was putting my 20s on for the summer, and it was hot as fuck like it was today. And by the time I got to the last wheel, I kind of caught a case of the fuck-its. I didn't use chocks. I didn't use a jack stand. I just jacked the truck up. The motherfucker fell off the jack. You know what I'm saying? Now, while I didn't get hurt and nothing was damaged as far as the truck goes, it kind of, you know, it still irks me to this day that I just didn't take the extra steps to make sure that everything was right, you know, before I jacked off the truck. So with this out of the way, stay tuned, because coming up next, I'm finally going to show you guys these brake tools. I got a brake issue with my truck. We'll go over some of the tools that I have for, you know, diagnosing brake problems and actually doing the brake repair. I got front pads and rotors. We're going to bang them on in an upcoming video as well. Another thing, we're getting close to subscriber number 2,000, you know what I'm saying? So of course we're going to do another giveaway, because you guys are liking what you see, you're subscribing to my shit, and I really appreciate it. And again, it's just my way of saying thanks to you guys, because you guys are the reason I come out here and do this stuff. I mean, look, I've been sweating my balls off out here just trying to show you how to jack off your truck. Can you tell them if you like what you see, subscribe to my shit? Can you tell them that? You tell YouTube that? It's the boss man. So obviously, my internet time's down. I'm sorry I haven't been keeping up with the comments and stuff, but kind of got my hands full, you know what I mean?
So why do you keep saying jacking off my truck?
What?
Why do you keep saying jacking off my truck?
That's what we're doing. We're jacking off the truck. How do you say it?
Jacking up the truck?